Okay, so we're getting ready to go camping, surf camping. One of the things I gotta do is get, well, a lot of stuff ready. For sure, I gotta get the bikes ready, which means I'm gonna need to pump up those tires, kind of lube them up and just make sure that they were good to go, add a bike rack, etc., because it's kind of a long ride that we're doing. And then my surfboard, so I broke my fin. I have these guys right here. This is like a 2+1 setup, so you got 2 and then 1. This one broke out, and so what happened was the leash wrapped around it on a big wave, and then it just pulled tight and snapped the fin off. So this guy goes in there. I was able to get those out. That was kind of a beast, actually. And my buddy Joseph gave me these, and he's super generous and cool. They will fit if I cut this little guy right here. They're set up for a different kind of deal where they like clip in, but I kind of feel bad cutting up his fins. So here's what I'm looking at. The way they are designed, I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of a foil, right? So you got a rounded side, and then it curves down to like almost a little knife edge right here on the back. However, it's flat on this side, completely flat. So on this side it just has that foil, and the other side it's flat. I was thinking I could just make one out of wood and just coat it in like fiberglass real quick, and then screw something in there, and that would work for now, because I don't want to spend 30 bucks on fins. So I'm thinking I might try that. I looked around the garage to see what I have that could work, because I save everything. I don't have like any pieces of plywood that's that thickness, which is too bad, but what I do have, where'd it go? Oh, right here. Is this old fan blade way. So this is pretty close to the thickness. It's a little bit smaller in diameter, but I can always screw those screws in a little bit tighter. I can't see why this wouldn't work, so I'm gonna make my own fins today. That's just wood grain. This is, I'm sure, yeah, this is just like MDF, like it's just glued together like sawdust basically. So this would not be watertight at all, but if I coat it in some epoxy, which I should be able to do, then we should be good. So what I'm gonna do is trace this guy on there, and then I will just hit it with the belt sander to shape it, and then coat it in some epoxy, and we'll find out if it works. So you can follow along. And I don't think this project is necessarily necessary for me to go, but I'm kind of slap happy because it's the end of my work week and the end of my work day. I preached today, which means I'm just exhausted on every level. However, this project sounds like fun, so I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to get everything else ready, load up the car, and we're going to go surf camping tomorrow. I can sleep then. Well, not while I'm surf camping, but you know what? It's dark a long time. There'll be plenty of time for sleep when we're camping. Okay, let's do this. Okay, step one was just really simple. I just took a Sharpie and traced all the way around it. So that's step one. Next, we're going to cut it out with a jigsaw. Okay, so let me walk you through the jigsaw real quick. It's super simple. This is a great tool. Everybody should get a jigsaw. You can get one at Harbor Freight for 15 or 20 bucks. They're not super expensive. Mine's a little ghetto. I would say a lot ghetto at this point. It fried, but I was able to fix it because what was happening was the switch here wasn't working to turn it on and off. There's like a trigger switch, and then there's a like a speed selector switch, although I always kept it on high speed. But I was able to take it apart, bypass the switch, and then just remove the selector, and then basically it works at high speed the second you plug it in. So it's going to be kind of dangerous if I was to try to plug it in while it's running and do all that. So I'm just going to walk you through what you will do. What you've got is you got this little guide here that slides down and can cover it. I'm going to keep it up so I can see. What you do is I'm going to make a slice in like that. Then I'm going to make another slice in like that. Just notch all of those. Now the cool thing about a jigsaw is that it can handle a curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the curve of this, something like this, and you just go slow. You can turn the wood, or you can turn the saw, and then just cut pieces off when you can. Like I'll just go off that edge rather than trying to make that super tight corner. Then you come back from another angle and just go around it. So I'm going to cut it out. I'll probably just set this on something nearby so I can do like a fast motion version of it. Here we go.
How does that
We have a helper. Who's this? What is this little man's name? Liam, that's right. Look, I'm making a surf fin. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Does it look all right for now?
Yeah.
I think it does too. Pretty cool. All right, step 2, cut it out. Okay, step 3 is going to be a little bit interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve the foil on this. So what that's going to include is basically rounding this front edge. That'll be easy. And then I'm going to trim this edge back so that when you're looking at it like this, you can see from this angle pretty good how it's basically starts off fat and then it slowly gets skinny. So I'm going to try to do that to this one without like losing too much material. And I'm not too worried about it being perfect, but I do want it to not drag on the water. So we'll do that and see how it goes. My tool of choice for this is going to be this belt sander, which hopefully is not totally overkill, but I've got a big belt on there. And all this does is when you turn it on, you have a trigger so you can adjust the speed. It's going to spin this sandpaper really fast. So that'd be a lot faster than you know, hand sanding it. But I'll do some hand sanding too because this thing is pretty powerful. It'll take stuff off pretty quick. How does it spin, Liam? Good.
The picture of me is in the movie.
It is. Can you see yourself?
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, so we want to carve away this side.
Is that good?
No, well, we got to go further, but I'm just checking this one, so it's kind of at like an angle. Let's see if we can do that. It's pretty good. So we match these two up. Yeah, you can come out. Actually, it looks pretty good. So next up, that edge is curved. What we're going to do is just round off this front edge, which is not, it's a pretty steep angle here. I don't know if you can see that, but we're going to match that angle more or less all the way around. So it goes basically, yeah, all the way around, so it blends. That should be pretty easy to do. Wow. Look at that with the different pieces of paper. So that edge right there, that sounds pretty good, man.
The blue light and all over it.
It's a little steep of an angle, so I need to cut a little more rounded edge to it. Let's do that. Okay, I mean, I feel like for a quick and dirty make my own fins, that's like really actually pretty decent. I don't know if you can see that, but okay, so that's, yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Okay, so here we go. We've kind of shaped them. That actually, dude, that took like 15 minutes. This was actually really easy. So obviously this isn't gonna have the strength of like a hard plastic fin, but normally they're not under a lot of pressure. I think this is gonna work. Okay, so for having a garage as full of junk as I do, it actually comes in handy because it's pretty organized and I can get to it. So that hole right over there is where this box came from. And this is my, I call it my body shop box. So what I've got in here is lots of different kinds of Bondo and fiberglass, things like that. But what I'm looking for, here we go, right here, is some epoxy resin. Okay, so this is West Systems resin. This stuff is amazing. Got it when we used to live on the boat. We used it quite a bit because we had a wood boat. And this is one of the only ways to waterproof stuff and make it last forever. And so what I'm going to do is you just do an equal pump. This is like a special pump that does like the right amount of ratio to mix it. So we're going to put 2 parts in a cup, and one of these is the hardener. And so this is like a catalyst. So when you put the two together, they begin to harden and they actually get really hot. It's really interesting. So I'm going to mix it with a nail in just like a little plastic cup, and then I'm going to just basically paint it all over the fin. And what it's going to do is it's going to dry as an epoxy layer. Now, if you were making a surfboard, you would need glass to strengthen it, fiberglass. Honey, don't do that. But we're not doing that. All we're doing is just quick and dirty, get it waterproof, get this thing back in the water. Think it'll work, Liam? Are you sure? For real? All right, let's do this. Okay, so this next step is pretty easy. We're going to measure the 2 equal pumps of the West Systems epoxy right here into a trashy cup. In this case, it's just a half of a tin can. Then I'm going to use this nail to mix it up, and then while it's wet, I'm actually just going to use, oh, there's the nail. And then what I'm going to use is my gloved hand to just kind of scoop some out and paint it on there, okay? Because it would eat a foam brush, which would work, but in this case, I just don't think there's any need to do that. So I'm just going to just get it good and goopy. And I think that will work good. I can always sand it down smooth again later, so my goal is going to be to really coat the whole thing as best I can, and then I'm going to balance it on this can to dry so that there's kind of minimizes how much is touching stuff. So that's my plan. You can watch. Okay, the next step is complete, and that was cover it with epoxy. I'll probably have some drips on the bottom because of the way it's hanging. No big deal, just hit that with a little sandpaper, and we'll see if it fits. And I'm glad actually now that this wood is a little bit thinner than the original fin, because the thickness of the epoxy, I hadn't taken that into account, but I wouldn't want to sand that away. And I think it's gonna soak into the wood and really make this thing, you know, into some kind of petrified wood situation, which should be a good solid fin. Okay, it's been a few hours, and this guy is looking pretty dry. It's like all the way dry, so looks good. And actually you can, so yeah, the light will show you that there's some imperfections, this little bubbles and imperfections. And on the back side where it was sitting on the can, it's got some little bits that need to be sanded down, and then of course some drips and stuff, but it's nice and hard now. What I did to kind of heat the, or help the curing was hit it with this heat gun. So that's a wise choice if you want to speed things up a bit. Okay, what I'm going to do is knock down the big stuff with this 60 grit sandpaper and then hit it with some 150, get it nice and smooth. Then I'm going to paint it, and I'll paint the other ones so that they match. And I think this is going to be a pretty good end to the project. Okay, good news. Made a lot of progress on this guy, so gave it a quick sanding, and it's looking really good. I think this thing is going to be a pretty decent fin. So I decided what I'm going to do is give it a quick coat of paint, because I think that will look nice. It's not like it has like a nice wood grain to it. This is fake, and then this side is like half paint, half whatever. So I'm going to give it some paint, and we'll go over to the spray paint shelf. This is one of my prides of the garage, and I think we're going to go with... yes, a blue would be good. A Krylon blue, I think that'll be good. Because that'll match the board, which is, I don't know if you can tell, but it's blue. So that's the goal, and I'll paint both ends because then it will match. So before you can paint, the next step's very important. You gotta wipe it down with that acetone. So there's the acetone. Just take a rag and you're gonna wipe it down. That's gonna pull off all of the contaminants from sanding, and also it's gonna promote adhesion. I mean, this guy's been hanging out in the salt water, so that's going to help a lot. We'll wipe it down and then spray paint it. All right, YouTube. Final step was assembly, and it was just a matter of putting them in there. So here's the original fin, the FCS one, and I really like that blue. I'm really happy that I did that. It looks really cool. And if we walk around, you'll see the one that we made, and it turned out great. It really looks pretty legit, especially because it really took 30 minutes to just carve that, and then maybe 10 minutes to, you know, cover it in epoxy, and then just some drying, some sanding. It was really no big deal. I mean, in 45 minutes, you know, minus some waiting, or not including some waiting, you could have a fin for free. Well, if you have some of these tools. And if you don't have these tools, one of the cool things about doing things yourself is that you save the money of not buying stuff. So I could have spent 30 bucks on a fin set. Instead, you could buy one of the tools that we use to make this. And if you made a few fins, you'd be good to go. So I don't think it will last as long as a normal fin. I think that under stress it would break. And I think if I'd done that out of like a real wood instead of that like fiberboard stuff, it obviously would be stronger. I just didn't have that. I was going for free, quick, and dirty. So that is the end of how to make a fin for your surfboard. Boom. And then watch, that's gonna get hot enough to set this log on fire. Oh yes, oh yes.